They told you that working harder would make you successful. They told you that starting a business would make you free. They told you that if you could just increase your income, everything would fall into place. But if that were true, why are so many high earners still stressed? Why do so many founders feel trapped inside the companies they built? Why do people with impressive revenue still have fragile financial lives? The problem is not effort. The problem is structure. We live in a time where opportunities are everywhere. You can launch a brand from your laptop. You can sell globally. You can scale with software. You can raise capital faster than any generation before you. And yet, businesses collapse every day. High incomes disappear in a single quarter. Entrepreneurs burn out before they ever feel secure. Because most people misunderstand what business is for. They think business is about activity. The wealthy think business is about ownership. They think money is about lifestyle. The wealthy think money is about control. They think growth is about speed. The wealthy think growth is about survival. There is a quiet pattern you can observe across different cultures and generations. Families that sustain wealth for decades rarely chase explosive growth. They do not build to impress, they build to endure. In some communities, business is treated almost like family infrastructure. Not something you flip, not something you gamble, something you protect. A small wholesale trader once explained his philosophy in a simple sentence. If this business cannot survive without me, then I have built a job, and not an asset. That difference is everything. Most people start businesses to escape employment. The wealthy build businesses to escape dependency. Most people measure success by revenue. The wealthy measure success by resilience. Most people ask, "How much can I make this year?" The wealthy ask, "If everything goes wrong, do I still stand?" In today's world, where AI automates tasks, markets move in cycles, and competition is global, thinking like everyone else is no longer just ineffective. It is dangerous. High income without assets is fragile. Rapid growth without reserves is reckless. Visibility without infrastructure is a liability. And this is where the mindset shift begins. Business is not about being busy. It is about building something that works when you don't. Money is not about spending power. It is about decision power. And wealth is not about size. It is about stability. If your business depends entirely on your daily presence, you do not own it. If your income stops when you stop working, you are not free. If your lifestyle expands as fast as your revenue, you are not building wealth. You are renting it. This audiobook is not about motivation. It is not about hustle. It is not about chasing the next opportunity. It is about understanding how the wealthy think about business and money. They think in decades, not quarters. They protect downside before chasing upside. They reinvest before celebrating. They build systems before scaling. They choose control over applause. In the chapters ahead, we will break down these patterns one by one. Not as theory, not as hype, but as structural thinking you can apply in today's economic reality. Because in the end, wealth is not an event. It is a way of thinking repeated consistently over time. And once you see that clearly, you will never look at business or money the same way again. Chapter 1. Business is not activity. It is ownership. Most people confuse motion with progress. They wake up early. They answer emails. They close deals. They manage teams. They solve problems all day long. And at the end of the month, money comes in. It feels like business. But activity is not ownership if your income depends entirely on your daily presence. You don't own a business. You own a responsibility. If your company slows down the moment you step away, you haven't built an asset. You've built a job with a better title. This is the first mental shift the wealthy make. They do not ask, "How busy am I?" They ask, "What do I actually own?" There is a quiet story about a small wholesale trader who ran a modest operation supplying packaging materials to local factories. He did not scale aggressively. He did not chase headlines. No, he did not expand into 5 cities at once. Instead, he focused on something most entrepreneurs ignore: structure. His son once asked him why they weren't opening more branches when competitors were expanding rapidly. The father replied, "If we cannot run one location perfectly without chaos, we have no right to run 5. That sentence reveals a mindset. He wasn't trying to multiply activity, he was trying to multiply stability. Before adding a second location, he ensured that inventory systems were precise, supplier contracts were long-term, cash flow was predictable, and every operational process was documented. His son learned bookkeeping before he learned sales. Why? Because sales bring money in, but bookkeeping protects what stays. That is ownership thinking. Most modern entrepreneurs focus on revenue. The wealthy focus on control. The revenue is loud. Ownership is quiet. Revenue can double in a year and disappear the next. Ownership compounds over decades. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Many people who call themselves business owners are highly paid operators. They are the most skilled employee inside their own company. Remove them and the system collapses. That is fragility. Ownership means the system functions independently of your energy. It means processes exist outside your personality. It means value is transferable. Ask yourself a hard question. Could you sell your business tomorrow without selling yourself with it? If the buyer requires you to stay for years because everything depends on you, then what you built is not scalable ownership. It is dependency disguised as leadership. In today's economy, this distinction matters more than ever. But technology has made it easy to start something. You can launch a brand in weeks. You can build a consulting practice in months. You can create an online store overnight. But ease of entry does not equal strength of foundation. The wealthy build foundations first. They understand that business is not about being indispensable. It is about being replaceable within a system you designed. That is a difficult concept for ambitious people. Many entrepreneurs secretly enjoy being needed. It feeds the ego. It creates identity. It makes them feel valuable. But ego-driven indispensability is the opposite of ownership. Ownership requires humility. It requires designing processes so clear that someone else can execute them. It requires documentation. It requires delegation. It requires patience. And it also requires letting go of control in the emotional sense, while maintaining control in the structural sense. That paradox separates operators from owners. There is another layer to this mindset. Owners think in assets, not effort. An asset produces value whether or not you are emotionally engaged that day. A systemized business is an asset. Intellectual property is an asset. Equity in a company is an asset. Rental real estate is an asset. Effort, on the other hand, produces value only when applied. Many entrepreneurs pride themselves on how hard they work. The wealthy quietly ask, "If I stopped, what would continue?" This is not laziness. It is leverage. Consider the difference between a consultant who bills by the hour and a firm that sells a structured, productized service with standardized pricing and trained staff. The first model is dependent on personal time. The second model builds an engine. One sells labor, the other builds ownership. In the modern American economy, this shift is urgent. Layoffs happen, industries shift, platforms change algorithms. AI replaces tasks. If your business model depends on you doing something manually every day, you're exposed. Ownership reduces exposure. It does not eliminate risk. Nothing does. But it transforms the type of risk you face. Instead of risking exhaustion, you risk optimization. Instead of risking burnout, you risk iteration. And iteration is manageable. The wealthy also understand another uncomfortable truth. Growth without structure amplifies chaos. Scaling a fragile system does not create strength. It multiplies weakness. That is why disciplined entrepreneurs often grow slower at first. They refine systems before expanding. They hire carefully. They automate gradually. They measure cash flow obsessively. To outsiders, it can look cautious, even conservative. But longevity is not built on excitement. It is built on control. Ask yourself, if you stepped away from your business for 3 months, what would happen? Would revenue stop? Would clients leave? Would employees freeze? Would chaos take over? Or would systems continue operating because you built them to? This is the first chapter because it is the foundation. Before talking about profit, scaling, leverage, or investment, you must confront this distinction. Business is not activity. Business is ownership. Ownership is not about title, it is about structure. And once you begin thinking this way, every decision changes. You stop asking, how can I work more? You start asking, how can this work without me? You stop chasing tasks. You start building assets. You stop glorifying busyness. You start designing independence. The wealthy do not build businesses to be admired. They build them to be transferable, durable, and resilient. That is the difference. And it begins with one shift from operator to owner. Chapter 2. High income is a beautiful illusion. A large paycheck feels powerful. When the numbers hit your bank account, there's a sense of progress, security, validation. It feels like momentum. You can upgrade your apartment. You can drive something better. You can travel more freely. You can breathe a little easier. Income creates relief, but relief is not wealth. There is a critical distinction between earning well and being financially strong. One depends on continuation. The other depends on control. Income is conditional. Ownership is structural. You can earn $300,000 a year and still be fragile. You can run a business generating 7 figures in revenue and still be exposed. Because if the flow stops, if the market shifts, if the company restructures, if a contract ends, what remains? This is where the wealthy think differently, as they do not confuse cash flow with power. They ask a harder question. If the income disappears tomorrow, what still belongs to me? There is a story about a restaurant owner in California who operated a successful location in a busy neighborhood. The business generated strong revenue year after year. Tourists filled the seats. The brand had recognition. It looked impressive from the outside, yet the owner lived modestly. He drove an older car. He did not expand aggressively into multiple flashy locations. He did not constantly renovate for aesthetics. Instead, quietly, he did something else. He purchased the building. While competitors poured profits into decor and lifestyle, he redirected his profits into acquiring the property itself. At first glance, it seemed conservative, even boring. But when rent prices surged years later, he was unaffected. When downturns slowed restaurant traffic, he still controlled the real estate. When neighboring businesses closed because of rising lease costs, he remained steady. Revenue fluctuated. Ownership endured. That is the difference. Income gives you movement. Assets give you position. High income without asset conversion is like running on a treadmill. You move fast, you sweat, you feel productive, but you stay in the same place structurally. The wealthy convert income into leverage. They convert cash into equity. They convert profit into assets. They convert earnings into control. In today's economy, this matters more than ever. Tech salaries can disappear during layoffs. Startups can collapse after funding dries up. High-earning professionals can watch their industries shift in a matter of years. MI can compress entire skill sets into software. Income is increasingly volatile. Assets are not immune to risk, but they are different in nature. Equity in a strong business, ownership in property, shares in productive companies, intellectual property that generates royalties. These are structures that persist beyond one paycheck cycle. The wealthy understand something uncomfortable. Lifestyle inflation is the silent destroyer of potential wealth. When income rises, expenses often follow. A larger home, a nicer car, private school, luxury vacations, each upgrade feels deserved. Each one is justified by effort. But if your cost structure expands as fast as your income, you remain dependent on continuous performance. That is not freedom. That is pressure. True wealth reduces pressure. It increases optionality. Imagine two professionals earning the same high income. The first increases lifestyle proportionally. Larger mortgage, higher monthly obligations, expensive commitments. When income slows, stress spikes immediately. The second maintains modest personal expenses and channels surplus into ownership, equity, investments, retained business earnings. If income slows, lifestyle remains stable. Assets continue producing. The difference is invisible at first. Over a decade, it becomes dramatic. This is why high income can be dangerous psychologically. It creates overconfidence. It creates the illusion that skill alone guarantees continuity. It creates attachment to identity. I am a high earner. But markets do not reward identity. They reward structure. The wealthy detach ego from income. They do not measure themselves by their paycheck. They measure themselves by their balance sheet. Income is temporary praise from the market. Assets are long-term negotiation power. In practical terms, this mindset changes daily decisions. When a bonus arrives, the question becomes, how do I deploy this? Not, how do I enjoy this? When a business has a strong quarter, the question becomes, what asset can this build? Not, what upgrade does this justify? When evaluating career moves, the focus shifts from salary alone to equity potential, ownership stake, and long-term leverage. This does not mean never enjoying life. It means sequencing correctly. Enjoyment after structure is freedom. Enjoyment before structure is fragility. The wealthy often appear understated during their asset-building phase. They delay visible signals of success. They prioritize control over display. Because they understand timing, they know that income is the seed. Assets are the tree. If you eat the seed, you enjoy one meal. If you plant the seed, you build a harvest. This principle applies across industries. A consultant who earns well but never productizes knowledge remains dependent on time. A consultant who builds courses, systems, or firms creates scalable assets. A high-paid executive who spends entirely on lifestyle remains tied to employment. An executive who accumulates equity and investments builds independence. A small business owner who extracts all profits for personal spending stagnates. One who reinvests into ownership compounds. In an era of rapid economic shifts, the wealthy ask a grounding question repeatedly. What would remain if my income stopped for 1 year? If the answer is nothing, then the structure is weak. If the answer is assets continue to generate, then stability exists. High income feels powerful because it is immediate. Ownership feels less dramatic because it is gradual, but gradual power is more reliable than immediate applause. Income can elevate you socially. Assets protect you financially. Income can impress others. Ownership reduces dependence. The wealthy do not chase income alone. They convert it relentlessly. And that conversion, quiet, disciplined, often invisible, is what separates a strong financial life from a fragile one. High income is a tool. Without structure, it is an illusion. With ownership, it becomes leverage. Chapter 3. Growth without control is a slow collapse. Expansion feels intelligent. Revenue climbs. Customers increase. Headlines look better. Social media celebrates scaling. Investors talk about momentum. Founders feel validated. Growth creates excitement. But excitement is not stability. There is a dangerous assumption in modern business culture. If something is growing, it must be healthy. That assumption has destroyed more companies than failure ever did. Growth amplifies everything. If your margins are thin, growth amplifies thin margins. If your systems are weak, growth amplifies chaos. If your leadership is reactive, growth amplifies stress. Expansion without control is not strength, it is acceleration toward fragility. Consider a small factory owner who operated conservatively for years, as he did not expand production simply because demand increased temporarily. Instead, he studied cash flow cycles carefully. He built a reserve, enough to cover 12 months of operating expenses without new revenue. Competitors mocked his caution. They took loans. They purchased new equipment aggressively. They expanded into additional markets quickly. For a while, they looked smarter. Then the market tightened. Orders slowed. Credit became expensive. Inventory piled up. Those who had expanded based on momentum suddenly faced pressure from every direction. Loan payments, payroll, rent, suppliers. The cautious factory owner. He slowed production. He used reserves strategically. He negotiated calmly because he was not desperate. Within 2 years, several competitors closed. He purchased equipment at discount prices from bankrupt operations. The growth did not save them. Resilience did. This is how the wealthy think. They treat growth as optional. They treat survival as mandatory. In today's environment, where economic cycles move quickly, industries shift overnight, and technological disruption is constant, this mindset is critical. Many founders chase scale too early. They hire before systems are mature. They expand marketing before unit economics are stable. They borrow because capital is available, not because the structure demands it. Leverage amplifies both intelligence and stupidity. If the foundation is strong, leverage accelerates progress. If the foundation is weak, leverage accelerates collapse. That is why disciplined entrepreneurs build what seems boring. Cash reserves, documented processes, operational redundancy, diversified revenue streams. So they understand something counterintuitive. Stability creates opportunity. When markets tighten, those without reserves are forced to sell assets, accept unfavorable deals, or close entirely. Those with reserves can negotiate from strength. Liquidity equals optionality. Optionality equals power. Growth culture glorifies speed. Wealth culture prioritizes endurance. Endurance wins over time. In the modern American market, it is easy to be seduced by valuation. Startup culture celebrates funding rounds and aggressive projections. Social media amplifies 10 times growth narratives. But valuation is not wealth. Revenue growth is not security. Cash flow durability is. The wealthy constantly ask, if revenue drops 30% tomorrow, what happens? If the answer is panic, the structure is wrong. If the answer is adjustment, the structure is strong. This mindset changes hiring decisions. It changes expansion timing. It changes borrowing behavior. Instead of asking, can we grow? The disciplined operator asks, should we grow now? Instead of asking, how fast can we scale? They ask, can our systems absorb this? Restraint is not weakness. It is strategic patience. This does not mean avoiding ambition. It means sequencing ambition. Build strong margins first. Build reliable systems second. Expand third. Too many reverse the order. The wealthy also avoid emotional scaling. They do not expand because competitors are expanding. They do not react to fear of missing out. They do not grow to prove something. They grow when structure supports it. In volatile environments, AI disruption, shifting supply chains, fluctuating interest rates, predictability matters more than speed. And if you own a business today, ask yourself, how many months of expenses could you cover without new revenue? How dependent are you on one customer, one platform, or one product? How fast would stress appear if sales slowed? These questions are uncomfortable. That is why most avoid them. But ignoring fragility does not remove it. The wealthy treat risk management as an active discipline. They diversify suppliers. They avoid overconcentration. They maintain liquidity. They resist lifestyle inflation tied to business peaks. Because they understand a simple rule: the market rewards those who remain standing. You cannot benefit from long-term opportunity if you collapse in the short term. In cycles of boom and contraction, fortunes are not made by those who grow the fastest. They are made by those who endure the longest. Growth is exciting. Control is powerful. Growth attracts attention. Control attracts longevity. When you shift your mindset from "how big can we get" to "how stable are we?" you stop gambling with momentum and start building durability. Durability compounds. And over decades, compounding durability outperforms dramatic expansion almost every time. In business and in wealth, the first victory is survival. Everything else is optional. Chapter 4. Profit is not a reward. It is fuel. Profit feels like permission. A strong quarter closes. Revenue exceeds projections. Expenses are covered. What remains feels earned. Deserved, finally. A moment to enjoy the results of hard work. This is where many trajectories quietly change. Because profit can either strengthen your future or weaken it. The wealthy do not view profit as celebration money. They view it as deployment capital. Profit is not the end of a cycle. It is the beginning of the next one. There is a pattern you will notice among disciplined business owners across cultures and industries. When money comes in, they ask, "What can this build?" before asking, "What can this buy?" A small importing company once faced this exact decision. After several profitable years, the owner could easily have upgraded his home or increased his lifestyle visibly. Instead, he invested in something far less glamorous: logistics control. He acquired warehouse space. He improved inventory systems. He negotiated long-term shipping contracts. None of it looked impressive on social media. None of it attracted praise. But it reduced cost volatility. It improved margins. It created reliability. Years later, when supply chains tightened and shipping costs fluctuated dramatically, competitors struggled. His margins held. Profit had been converted into infrastructure. Infrastructure created resilience. This is how wealth compounds. Profit is neutral energy. It becomes strength only when directed correctly. Spend it and it disappears. Deploy it and it multiplies. The danger of profit is psychological. After long periods of stress, the mind seeks relief. It wants reward. It wants visible proof that the effort mattered. But premature reward erodes structural advantage. Lifestyle expansion before asset expansion is a quiet leak. In modern economies, especially where consumption is celebrated, this temptation is constant. New car leases, larger mortgages, upgraded lifestyles justified by temporary peaks. Yet the wealthy delay visible upgrades. They reinforce foundations first. Every dollar has potential roles. It can be consumption, cushion, capacity, ownership. Consumption feels immediate. Cushion protects against downturn. Capacity improves production. Ownership increases long-term leverage. Disciplined operators allocate profit deliberately across these categories. In today's fast-moving markets, reinvestment is more critical than ever. Technology evolves quickly. Competitors appear globally. Margins compress unexpectedly. If profit is not reinvested, you fall behind. Reinvestment does not always mean expansion. Sometimes it means strengthening systems. Sometimes it means upgrading skills. Sometimes it means increasing reserves. The wealthy understand sequencing. First, ensure liquidity. Second, strengthen margins. Third, improve infrastructure. Fourth, consider expansion. This order prevents fragility. Many businesses reverse it. They expand first, celebrate second, and consider reserves last. When downturns hit, there is no buffer. Profit misused increases exposure. There's another dimension to this mindset: emotional neutrality. When profit is viewed as validation, decision-making becomes distorted, and leaders begin chasing quarters to sustain a feeling. They increase risk to maintain growth optics. They compromise discipline to avoid perceived stagnation. But profit is not validation. It is feedback. It tells you whether a structure works. The wealthy detach ego from profit levels. A strong quarter does not trigger extravagance. A weak quarter does not trigger panic. Both are data points. This detachment creates consistency. In an era where businesses can scale quickly through digital channels, it is tempting to reinvest aggressively without caution. Marketing budgets balloon, teams grow rapidly, software subscriptions accumulate, but reinvestment without analysis is just spending with a different label. Deployment must be strategic. Ask, does this expense increase structural advantage? Does it reduce future dependency? Does it improve long-term margin? Does it create ownership? If the answer is unclear, pause. The wealthy think in compounding layers. A profit reinvested into systems improves efficiency. Efficiency improves margin. Margin improves retained earnings. Retained earnings fund new assets. Assets generate additional cash flow. This cycle, repeated patiently, builds independence. Contrast that with profit consumed immediately. Each cycle resets to zero. Today's business environment punishes stagnation, but it also punishes reckless scaling. The solution is disciplined reinvestment. Invest in process automation so your business requires less daily supervision. Invest in people who multiply output rather than simply fill seats. Invest in data visibility so decisions are based on clarity, not instinct. And above all, invest in ownership. Ownership of property, ownership of intellectual property, ownership of equity stakes, ownership of brand assets. Profit that becomes ownership shifts your power permanently. Profit that becomes consumption shifts nothing structurally. This is why some entrepreneurs with modest revenue quietly become wealthy over time, while others with explosive revenue remain perpetually exposed. The difference is not intelligence, it is allocation discipline. There is a quiet principle underlying this chapter. Every profitable period is an opportunity to reduce future risk. If you treat profit as a reward, you increase vulnerability. If you treat profit as fuel, you increase durability. In the long run, durability outperforms excitement. Markets fluctuate, trends shift, technologies evolve. Infrastructure endures, and profit is not the destination. It is leverage waiting for direction. And those who understand this early convert every strong season into structural advantage for the next one. That is how wealth becomes stable. That is how businesses outlast competitors. And that is how money stops being a moment and starts becoming momentum. Chapter 5. Relationships are quiet. Capital contracts are visible. Revenue is measurable. Margins are calculated. But there is a form of capital that rarely appears on financial statements, yet determines long-term survival more than any metric. Trust. The wealthy treat relationships as assets, not social connections, not networking events, not transactional introductions. They build long-term economic trust. There was a distributor who had worked with the same supplier for over 20 years. He did not squeeze them for the lowest possible price during good times. He did not threaten to switch vendors over minor cost fluctuations. He prioritized continuity. At first glance, it seemed inefficient. Why not negotiate harder? Why not constantly chase lower costs? Because he understood something deeper. Predictability is more valuable than marginal advantage. When supply chains tightened globally, many businesses struggled. Containers were delayed, prices surged, orders were cut. That distributor received priority, not because of contracts, because of history. Trust lowered volatility. Volatility destroys margins faster than cost differences. This is how the wealthy think about relationships. They are not sentimental about them. They are strategic. A reliable supplier reduces operational risk. A long-term customer reduces revenue volatility. A trusted partner reduces negotiation friction. All of these reduce uncertainty. Uncertainty is expensive. In today's economy, relationships matter even more. Reputation spreads instantly. Reviews influence purchasing decisions. Digital footprints persist indefinitely, and one reckless deal can cost years of credibility. Short-term wins built on exploitation create long-term instability. The wealthy choose consistency over opportunism. They ask, will this decision strengthen or weaken trust? Because trust compounds. If someone has delivered reliably for 10 years, the 11th year is easier. If you have paid on time consistently, credit terms improve. If your reputation signals integrity, partnerships emerge organically. This is leverage without debt. Many entrepreneurs focus entirely on optimization. Lowest cost, highest margin, fastest deal. Optimization is valuable, but durability is superior. If squeezing a partner today damages future collaboration, the hidden cost exceeds the visible gain. The wealthy evaluate invisible costs. This principle applies beyond suppliers. Consider employees. Some businesses treat labor as interchangeable expense. Others invest in developing long-term team members. Training, trust, and shared knowledge accumulate. When experienced employees remain, institutional knowledge compounds. Mistakes decrease, execution accelerates. Turnover is expensive. Trust reduces turnover. Customers are similar. Businesses built entirely on aggressive acquisition without retention resemble buckets with holes. Marketing budgets expand just to replace churn. Businesses built on relationship depth create recurring revenue. Recurring revenue stabilizes cash flow. Stable cash flow strengthens planning. Strong planning improves margins. It is a chain reaction. The wealthy build economic ecosystems. They are careful about who they associate with. They avoid partners who prioritize drama, volatility, or unpredictability, because instability spreads. In the modern digital economy, this is even more critical. Platforms can amplify reputation instantly. One public misstep can cost trust widely. Long-term thinkers understand that reputation is capital. Capital must be protected. This does not mean avoiding hard negotiations. It means conducting them with respect and clarity. It means honoring agreements, even when inconvenient. Trust is slow to build and quick to destroy. When you view relationships as assets, you shift your behavior. You pay on time. You communicate transparently. You avoid unnecessary conflict. You think beyond immediate gain. This does not make you weak. It makes you durable. Durability attracts opportunity. Investors prefer predictable partners. Suppliers prefer reliable buyers. Customers prefer consistent service. Over decades, these preferences accumulate advantage. Short-term opportunism often creates hidden fragility. The wealthy also understand reciprocity. In periods of strength, they support partners. In periods of weakness, they receive support. This mutual reinforcement stabilizes networks. Networks reduce isolation. Isolation increases vulnerability. If your entire business depends on a single relationship, you're exposed. But if you cultivate multiple trusted connections, risk spreads. Diversified trust is resilient. In today's fragmented market, where remote work, digital platforms, and global trade dominate, Trust differentiates. Products can be copied. Pricing can be undercut. Marketing can be replicated. Reputation cannot be manufactured overnight. That is why disciplined operators guard it fiercely. They avoid lawsuits when possible. They resolve disputes privately. They choose long-term goodwill over public victory because they know something subtle. Winning publicly can cost privately. Economic history repeatedly shows that those who endure are not always the most aggressive, but the most stable. Relationships anchor stability. When markets tighten, those with strong networks find solutions faster. They secure inventory, capital, advice, and referrals. Those without networks face isolation. Isolation magnifies stress. Stress distorts judgment. Distorted judgment leads to mistakes. The wealthy avoid this spiral by building quiet capital in advance. They invest time in maintaining connections even when there is no immediate benefit. They show up consistently. They understand that trust is built through repetition. In the end, business is not purely mathematical. It is relational. Margins matter, systems matter, ownership matters. But relationships determine how smoothly those elements function. Trust reduces friction. Reduced friction improves flow. Improved flow increases durability. Durability compounds into wealth. This form of capital is not flashy. It is rarely celebrated. It grows invisibly, but when storms arrive, it reveals its strength. And those who cultivated it patiently find themselves standing when others fall. That is the power of quiet capital. Chapter 6. Own the infrastructure, not just the income. Income flows through systems. Ownership controls systems. That distinction determines who holds power when conditions change. Many entrepreneurs believe they are independent because they generate revenue. But revenue often flows through platforms, landlords, payment processors, suppliers, algorithms, and lenders. If any one of those shifts dramatically, the revenue stream can weaken overnight. Dependency hides inside convenience. Selling on a major marketplace feels efficient. Advertising through a dominant platform feels scalable. Renting office or retail space feels flexible. Outsourcing logistics feels practical. All of those decisions can be smart, but none of them equal ownership. Ownership begins when you control critical infrastructure. Infrastructure is not glamorous. It is not viral. It is not talked about in headlines, but it determines leverage. Consider a family that ran a small retail business for years in a leased location. They paid rent on time. They operated responsibly. Revenue grew steadily. After a decade, instead of opening a second flashy branch, they purchased the property. That decision shifted everything. They no longer faced rent increases that could erode margin. They could redesign the space without approval. They had collateral for financing if needed. They converted an expense into an asset. The retail business generated income. The building generated security. That is infrastructure thinking. In today's digital economy, infrastructure looks different, but the principle remains the same. If your business depends entirely on one social media algorithm, you're exposed. And if your entire sales pipeline depends on one platform's advertising policies, you are vulnerable. If your audience lives only inside rented digital space, you do not own your distribution. Owning infrastructure in the modern era may mean building a direct email list, a proprietary website, a brand independent of platforms, customer relationships not mediated by third parties. Infrastructure reduces dependency. Dependency magnifies risk. The wealthy constantly ask, where is my exposure? If a single decision by a platform can eliminate 80% of your revenue, you do not have control. If one landlord can double rent and destroy your margin, you do not have leverage. If one supplier failure halts production, you lack redundancy. Control is built by reducing single points of failure. This does not mean avoiding partnerships or platforms, and it means not being hostage to them. There is another dimension to infrastructure ownership: intellectual property. A consultant who relies solely on hourly billing has limited scalability. But when that consultant converts expertise into frameworks, processes, digital products, or equity stakes, income becomes layered. Frameworks can be taught, systems can be licensed, equity can appreciate. This creates structural advantage. Infrastructure is anything that multiplies output without multiplying personal effort. The wealthy invest in infrastructure early, even when it slows visible growth. They choose building over boasting. Because infrastructure compounds quietly, the power of infrastructure becomes obvious during disruption. When economic downturns occur, businesses with thin margins and high dependency suffer first. Saying those who own property, hold reserves, control customer relationships, and maintain diversified systems adjust calmly. Ownership of infrastructure creates negotiating power. When you control a critical asset, you negotiate differently. You're not pleading for survival. You're deciding from strength. In real estate, property ownership often serves as a stabilizing force. In business, brand ownership plays a similar role. In digital markets, audience ownership functions the same way. Imagine two businesses with equal revenue. One sells entirely through a third-party platform. The other sells partly through that platform but has also cultivated direct channels. Email subscribers, recurring memberships, repeat clients. If the platform changes rules, one business collapses. The other adjusts. The difference is not revenue. It is infrastructure. This principle also applies internally. Owning infrastructure means documenting processes. It means cross-training staff. It means avoiding reliance on one irreplaceable employee. It means building clarity into operations so continuity survives personnel change. Infrastructure makes a business transferable. Transferability increases value. Businesses that can operate without the founder command higher valuations. Businesses dependent on founder personality or daily involvement are discounted heavily. Infrastructure converts labor into an asset. This is why the wealthy view profit strategically. Instead of upgrading lifestyle immediately, they ask, what infrastructure can this fund? Can it fund better systems? Can it fund property acquisition? Can it fund brand strengthening? Can it fund intellectual property development? Infrastructure today reduces stress tomorrow. In volatile markets, control over critical assets is priceless. The modern economy rewards speed but punishes fragility. Infrastructure absorbs shock. Shock will come. Interest rates change. Supply chains shift. Technology evolves. Consumer preferences rotate. When change arrives, those who own infrastructure adapt. Those who rent everything scramble. Renting is not wrong. It is often necessary early on, but long-term wealth emerges when renting transitions into owning. Own your core assets, own your data, own your brand, own your property when feasible. Own your equity. This mindset transforms ambition into architecture. You stop chasing temporary wins and start constructing durable systems. Infrastructure is silent power. It rarely attracts applause. It rarely trends. It rarely feels exciting in the moment, but it determines who survives long enough to compound. Income fluctuates. Trends fade. Platforms evolve. Infrastructure remains. And those who understand this do not just participate in the market. They anchor themselves within it. That is the difference between earning well and being structurally strong. That is the difference between motion and leverage. And over time, leverage always wins. Chapter 7. Emotional control is a financial advantage. Markets move on emotion. Prices rise because of excitement. Prices fall because of fear. Businesses expand because of optimism. They collapse because of panic. Emotion is contagious, but the wealthy are not immune to emotion. They simply refuse to let it drive decisions. This distinction is subtle but decisive. In every financial cycle, you will see the same pattern. Repeat. When opportunities appear, new technologies, new industries, new investment waves, excitement spreads quickly. Stories circulate. Headlines amplify gains. Social media magnifies success. It begins to feel irresponsible not to participate. Then comes overextension. Loans are taken. Savings are deployed aggressively. Risk tolerance stretches beyond logic. Justification replaces analysis. At the peak of enthusiasm, discipline disappears. Then correction arrives. And suddenly, fear dominates the same minds that were confident weeks earlier. Assets are sold impulsively. Businesses shrink prematurely. Opportunities are abandoned out of anxiety rather than strategy. This emotional swing is predictable. The wealthy anticipate it. There was an investor who refused to participate in a speculative surge that captivated his peers. He was not unaware of the upside. He simply asked a different question. If this goes wrong, how much damage does it cause to my base? His friends viewed his restraint as caution bordering on cowardice. They believed opportunity required boldness. He believed opportunity required probability. Months later, when valuations corrected sharply, his capital remained intact. He did not need to recover. He did not need to panic sell. He simply waited. Patience created optionality. Optionality created advantage. Emotional control is not about suppressing feelings. It is about separating feeling from execution. Fear and excitement are natural. Acting on them impulsively is optional. In modern markets, this discipline is more important than ever. Information spreads instantly. News cycles compress. Volatility accelerates. Digital communities amplify hype and despair within hours. Without emotional control, decision-making becomes reactive. Reactive decisions compound mistakes. The wealthy design systems to reduce emotional influence. They predefine risk limits. They set allocation rules. They avoid concentration beyond calculated thresholds. They maintain liquidity for flexibility. Rules protect against impulse. When markets surge, allocation caps prevent overexposure. When markets decline, reserve capital prevents forced selling. Structure neutralizes emotion. This applies to business decisions as well. Rapid customer growth can trigger reckless hiring. Temporary demand spikes can encourage overexpansion. Short-term profit surges can justify unsustainable commitments. But disciplined operators pause. They examine sustainability. Is this demand structural or cyclical? Is this margin durable or temporary? Is this growth funded by strength or by optimism? These questions create distance from excitement. Similarly, during downturns, fear pressures leaders to cut too deeply, too quickly. Staff reductions without analysis, asset sales under duress, abandonment of long-term plans due to short-term stress. Emotional contraction can be as damaging as emotional expansion. The wealthy resist both extremes. They analyze calmly. They act deliberately. They understand that volatility is part of the system, not a personal attack. This mindset creates stability. Stability increases clarity. Clarity improves decision quality. In competitive environments, most errors do not come from lack of intelligence. They come from unmanaged emotion. Brilliant professionals panic. Skilled founders overextend. Experienced investors chase trends. Intelligence does not eliminate impulse. Discipline does. There is a deeper reason emotional control matters financially. Compounding requires time. Time requires survival. Survival requires avoiding catastrophic mistakes. One catastrophic decision can erase years of progress. Excess leverage during optimism, panic liquidation during downturn, aggressive expansion without margin buffer. Each is emotionally driven. To the wealthy protect against catastrophic downside first. They are less concerned with maximizing every opportunity and more concerned with avoiding irreversible damage. This orientation changes behavior fundamentally. They do not chase every trend. They do not react to every headline. They do not equate activity with progress. They focus on consistency. Consistency compounds. In personal finance, this might mean maintaining a disciplined investment schedule regardless of market mood. In business, it means adhering to margin thresholds even when competitors expand recklessly. In leadership, it means maintaining composure when others escalate. Calm is leverage. When others panic, assets become discounted. When others hesitate, opportunities appear. When others rush, mispricing occurs. Only those with emotional stability can capitalize. This does not mean being detached from reality. It means interpreting volatility rationally. Fear narrows vision. Excitement exaggerates potential. Control widens perspective. The wealthy cultivate routines that anchor stability. Regular review cycles, conservative forecasts, diversified exposure, measured pacing. They remove as much decision-making as possible from emotional moments. Because in high-stress situations, cognitive bandwidth shrinks. Predefined structure compensates. Consider again the difference between two operators in a downturn. One sees declining revenue and reacts instantly, slashing investment, abandoning strategy, retreating aggressively. The other evaluates data, compares reserves, and adjusts proportionally. The second survives with capacity intact. Survival preserves opportunity. Opportunity rewards patience. Over decades, this emotional advantage accumulates dramatically, not because of brilliance, not because of speed, because of restraint. Financial success is often portrayed as aggressive, bold, and fearless. In reality, enduring wealth is calm, measured, and controlled. Emotion will always exist. The question is whether it commands your decisions or informs them. Those who allow it to command eventually destabilize themselves. Those who observe it but act structurally build durability. Durability compounds. And compounding is the quiet engine of wealth. Emotional discipline is not glamorous, but it is one of the most powerful financial advantages available. And unlike market timing or opportunity access, it is entirely within your control. Chapter 8. Wealth is control, not scale. Scale impresses. Large numbers attract attention. Fast growth earns headlines. Big offices, rapid hiring, aggressive expansion. These look like success, but scale and wealth are not the same thing. Scale increases complexity. Wealth increases control. The two can overlap, but they are not identical. A business can scale quickly and become structurally fragile. A business can remain modest in size and become financially powerful. The wealthy understand this distinction deeply. Control is the real objective. Control over time. Control over obligations. Control over risk. Control over decisions. Without control, growth becomes a burden. Consider a second-generation business owner who inherited a stable mid-sized operation. Consultants encouraged aggressive expansion, new markets, outside capital, the higher leverage. The projections were compelling. The growth curves looked impressive. He chose a different path. He optimized margins. He reduced unnecessary debt. He strengthened cash reserves. He improved systems. He expanded slowly and selectively. Observers criticized him for lacking ambition. But he understood something critical. Rapid growth often increases dependency. Dependency on lenders. Dependency on constant revenue acceleration. Dependency on market conditions staying favorable. He preferred independence. A business growing at 10% annually with strong margins and low leverage can generate immense long-term wealth. A business growing at 40% annually while consuming capital and carrying debt can implode during downturns. Scale without stability magnifies stress. The wealthy measure success differently. Instead of asking, "Next, how big are we?" they ask, "How exposed are we?" Instead of chasing maximum valuation, they prioritize durability. This mindset becomes especially important in modern economies that reward speed and visibility. Social media amplifies dramatic growth stories. Venture culture celebrates scale at all costs, but not all growth is healthy. Growth funded by retained earnings is different from growth funded by borrowed optimism. Control means being able to say no. No to expansion that compromises margin. No to partnerships that dilute strategic direction. No to debt that increases fragility. No to opportunities that stretch operational capacity beyond stability. Control is freedom of decision. Wealth, in its most practical form, is the ability to make choices without desperation. Desperation erodes judgment. And if your business must hit aggressive growth targets to satisfy debt obligations, you're not in control. If your lifestyle depends entirely on maintaining a high but volatile income, you're not in control. If your operating costs require continuous acceleration just to remain stable, you are not in control. The wealthy reduce fixed pressure. They maintain manageable cost structures. They avoid excessive lifestyle inflation. They protect optionality. Optionality is a form of quiet wealth. When you have options, you negotiate differently. You invest differently. You think differently. The pursuit of scale often sacrifices optionality. Larger payroll, larger leases, larger marketing commitments, larger expectations. These commitments create momentum, but they also create weight. Weight increases vulnerability during downturns. Control lightens weight. This does not mean avoiding ambition. It means defining ambition correctly. Ambition is not measured solely in size. It can be measured in strength. A smaller business with high margin, low debt, loyal customers, and diversified revenue may create more real wealth than a sprawling operation built on thin margins and aggressive leverage. The wealthy understand sustainability. They build organizations that can endure slow periods without panic. They design cost structures that allow breathing room. They avoid locking themselves into obligations that require constant maximum output. Breathing room increases clarity. Clarity improves decisions. Control also applies to personal wealth. A high net worth tied entirely to illiquid or speculative assets is less stable than diversified holdings generating steady cash flow. This concentration can create dramatic gains, but it can also create dramatic losses. The wealthy balance growth with preservation. Preservation is not weakness, it is strategy. Over decades, preservation combined with disciplined growth compounds into formidable stability. The modern narrative often glorifies risk-taking. Go big or go home. All in. Bet on yourself. Calculated risk is essential. Recklessness is not. Control means taking risks that are survivable. Survivability determines longevity. Longevity enables compounding. Compounding transforms modest advantages into extraordinary outcomes. The quiet truth is this: the wealthy do not wake up each day trying to become bigger. They wake up ensuring they remain strong. Strength precedes size. Size without strength collapses. This chapter is not an argument against growth. It is an argument for intentional growth. Before expanding, ask, will this increase control or reduce it? Will this improve resilience or amplify exposure? Will this strengthen margins or stretch them? Will this increase optionality or reduce it? If growth reduces control, it is expensive. If growth increases control, it is strategic. The difference is rarely visible from the outside. Public perception celebrates expansion. Private wealth prioritizes stability. In the end, wealth is not defined by the number of employees you manage, the square footage you occupy, or the revenue you announce. It is defined by the level of control you possess over your economic life, control over your time, control over your obligations, control over your risk profile, control over your future decisions. When you shift your goal from scale to control, your strategy changes. You become more selective, more disciplined, more patient. And over time, patience combined with structure produces something far more powerful than fast growth. It produces enduring wealth. Not loud, not dramatic, but stable. And stability, sustained over decades, is the highest form of financial power. Doi jai la fan bo sung huang. Batram tu, noi tiep truk tiep chapter tam, gyu jung tonesak bain, kiem soat ben vung. There is a quiet maturity that develops when control becomes your priority. You stop competing for attention. You stop measuring yourself against louder operators. You stop mistaking visibility for power. Because you understand something deeper. The market does not reward noise. It rewards endurance. Endurance requires margins. Endurance requires liquidity. Endurance requires discipline. When your financial life is structured around control, stress changes shape. You no longer panic when revenue fluctuates slightly. You no longer chase every trend that promises acceleration. You no longer feel pressure to prove growth publicly. You operate from a position of internal strength. And strength allows selectivity. Selectivity allows precision. Precision compounds. Over time, this creates a powerful advantage, psychological freedom. If your business can withstand a downturn without existential threat, your thinking expands. If your investments are diversified and conservatively structured, you do not wake up checking prices in anxiety. And if your lifestyle is aligned with sustainable income, you do not fear temporary volatility. Control reduces fear. Reduced fear improves judgment. Improved judgment increases long-term returns. This is why the wealthy often appear calm during economic turbulence. They are not detached from reality. They are insulated by structure. Their goal was never maximum speed. It was maximum durability. And durability, quietly maintained across decades, becomes unshakable power. That is what true wealth feels like. Not bigger, but steady. Outro. When you stop chasing, you start building. There is a moment in every serious business journey when ambition matures. At the beginning, it is about proving something. Proving you can earn, proving you can grow, proving you can compete, proving you belong. But eventually, if you pay attention, you begin to notice something unsettling. The people who look the busiest are not always the strongest. The companies growing the fastest are not always the safest. The highest earners are not always the most secure. And the ones who last the longest rarely talk the loudest. Over the course of this audiobook, we have dismantled a series of illusions. We dismantled the idea that activity equals ownership. We challenged the belief that high income equals wealth. We questioned growth without control. We reframed profit as fuel, not reward. We exposed relationships as quiet capital. We defined infrastructure as leverage. We emphasized emotional discipline as an advantage. And finally, we redefined wealth as control, not scale. All of these ideas point to one central truth. Wealth is structural. It is not a moment, and it is not a breakthrough. It is not a single year of exceptional performance. It is the result of repeated decisions that reduce fragility and increase control. In a world obsessed with speed, this mindset feels almost rebellious. Speed attracts attention. Control attracts longevity. Speed impresses others. Control protects you. When you chase constantly, you become reactive. You adjust to headlines. You respond to trends. You expand because others expand. You contract because others panic. When you build structurally, you become intentional. You design margins. You accumulate reserves. You convert income into assets. You reduce exposure gradually. Over time, something shifts. Stress decreases. Decisions become clearer. Opportunities feel less urgent and more optional. And that word, optional, is the quiet definition of wealth. Wealth is optionality. It is the ability to choose clients instead of needing them. It is the ability to decline bad deals without fear. It is the ability to weather slow quarters without panic. It is the ability to step back without collapse. Optionality does not come from dramatic wins. It comes from consistent discipline. Many people will hear these ideas and think they are conservative. Too slow, not aggressive enough. But look at economic history. Booms are frequent. Busts are inevitable. Trends rotate. Technologies disrupt. The only advantage that survives all cycles is durability. Durability is built through ownership, through reserves, through margin, through diversified relationships, through infrastructure, and through emotional control. It is not built through applause. If you strip away ego, competition, and comparison, the question becomes simple. How stable is your foundation? Not how impressive it looks, not how fast it is growing, not how visible it is. How stable is it? Because stability compounds. A stable business reinvests calmly. A stable investor deploys capital patiently. A stable leader makes rational decisions during chaos. Each stable decision reinforces the next. This is how generational wealth quietly forms, not through one explosive leap, but through thousands of disciplined steps. There is another truth hidden beneath all of this. Control is internal before it is financial. If you cannot control emotion, markets will control you. If you cannot control lifestyle inflation, income will control you. So if you cannot control ambition, growth will control you. External control begins with internal discipline. The wealthy are not immune to fear or excitement. They simply refuse to let either dictate structure. They define risk in advance. They define limits in advance. They define priorities in advance. And when volatility arrives, they execute according to structure, not mood. That is why they endure. Endurance is underrated in modern culture. It is not flashy. It is not viral. It is not celebrated. But it is powerful. If you endure long enough while maintaining discipline, compounding does the heavy lifting. Compounding of capital, compounding of reputation, compounding of relationships, compounding of knowledge. Time rewards those who remain intact. And remaining intact requires resisting the temptations we discussed throughout this audiobook. The temptation to equate income with wealth. The temptation to scale before stabilizing. The temptation to spend profit prematurely. The temptation to chase every opportunity. The temptation to react emotionally. Each temptation is short-term relief. Each disciplined choice is long-term leverage. You do not need to be the smartest person in the room to build wealth. You need to be the most structurally consistent. That consistency will not feel dramatic day to day. It will feel repetitive, measured, controlled. But 10 years later, the difference becomes undeniable. The loud competitors disappear. The over-leveraged expanders collapse. The emotionally reactive burn out, and the structurally disciplined remain. At that point, and wealth no longer feels like something you are chasing. It feels like something you have built. Not because you move the fastest, but because you built in a way that allowed you to stand when others could not. So as you move forward from this point, do not ask, how can I grow faster? Ask, how can I grow stronger? Do not ask, how can I impress? Ask, how can I endure? Do not ask, how much can I make this year? Ask, what will still belong to me in 10 years? Because when you stop chasing noise and start building structure, something profound happens. Money stops feeling urgent. Business stops feeling chaotic. Growth stops feeling desperate. And wealth becomes what it was always meant to be. Control, quiet, intentional, durable, And once you understand that, you're no longer playing the same game as everyone else. You are building for permanence.